Connecting community, creating impact. This is the Chamber Link.
Good morning and welcome to the Chamber Link. My name is Cale Dunwoody and I have the pleasure of serving as the Vice President of Public Policy for the Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo Chamber of Commerce. With today's discussion, I'm excited to bring in a couple leaders from the Moorhead community to talk about all of the momentum that is happening in Moorhead. And so this morning I'm joined by Moorhead Mayor Shelly Carlson.
Hi, Cale. How are you?
Doing well. And Downtown Moorhead, Inc. President and CEO Matt Leiseth.
Great to be here, Cale.
Well, there's a lot of things going on across our community, but particularly a lot of things happening in Moorhead. I mean, anybody that just drives down into Moorhead, they know that there's some monumental changes happening, and that's what we want to talk about on today's episode. And we just had, a couple episodes ago, had the Fargo mayor-elect and the West Fargo mayor-elect, and so we wanted to continue that conversation with you folks, just to continue to talk about our region collectively. And in a later episode, we'll bring the other mayors from Dilworth and Horace on as well to talk about what's going on in their regions. But really, let's kick off this morning's conversation just introducing yourself, along with talking a little bit about some of your favorite things in Moorhead. Mayor Carlson, we'll start with you on that one.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having both Matt and I on the podcast. This is great. Anytime I get an opportunity to talk about Moorhead, I am more than thrilled to be able to do that. So yes, I'm Mayor Shelly Carlson. This is my 6th year being the mayor of Moorhead, and the last 6 years have been transformational, I think, in the city of Moorhead. We have done a lot of things, and the Moorhead of 6 years ago does not look like any part of the Moorhead of what it is today. Some of our huge projects have, of course, been the Moorhead Center Mall area, 18 acres to redevelop a downtown. There's not many times you get an opportunity to revitalize your downtown in a way that you can do it very strategically with a plan on how it's all going to work together. Usually it's just a few, blocks at a time, but we have 18 acres that we're transforming, which is huge. And then, of course, the 11th Street Underpass, which has been but we've been talking about that since I think 1978 is when the first plan was found by our engineering department. Romkey Park was completely revitalized. Our city hall is completely being renovated and an addition. And then Matson Field, and then those are just the bigger projects. We have a lot of smaller ones around the city too.
For sure.
It's fantastic.
One of your favorite things about Moorhead?
The people. Just the people, the loyalty that they have to our businesses, the pride that they have in our community. You see, yes, 56560 all over the place because we're all cheering for that same team. And I just love everybody in the city of Moorhead. And, we're all excited about the transformation that's happened. For
sure. And we're going to dive into some of those different topics that you had brought up with the redevelopment of the Moorhead Center Mall and 11th Street Underpass, all those. But I want to turn it over to Matt. Matt, just give us a little introduction into yourself and then dive a little bit deeper into what's your favorite thing about Moorhead.
Yeah, Matt Leiseth. I'm the President and CEO of Downtown Moorhead, Inc. And much like Mayor Carlson, I really love the people of Moorhead. And it's really this collaboration piece. Whether we're in a school meeting or in a neighborhood, it's really talking about what's good for Moorhead. And it's a really collective Moorhead thing, not a certain neighborhood, not a certain street, but it's really Moorhead. And that's pretty unique for a lot of towns, especially our size, to still have that belief in the community.
For sure. No, there's a great pride on that side of the river. And you see that, like you said, that 5650 all over the place. The Spuds, obviously bringing a lot of light to the community as well, and just a lot of community pride. Matt, maybe just talk a little bit more about Downtown Moorhead, Inc. and in your role that you play there and really the impact that you all are having on the community of Moorhead.
Downtown Moorhead, Inc. is a nonprofit. We were started about 9 years ago, and it was brought about by several business leaders in Moorhead at the time that just said, what can we do to help support the city of Moorhead and continue its growth? And the impetus behind it was really about how do we create some more excitement in the downtown area? How do we get a livability for the community? And thinking about college students, especially with Concordia and Moorhead State, with all of these people in there, how do we make a great impression? And that's really how it started. And over the years, it turned into providing economic development services for the city of Moorhead. So we are a partner with the city, and it works really well in a lot of cases. So as I'm talking to developers and businesses, I'm not an employee of the city, so it's a much different conversation.
Right.
You can really have some open and honest dialogue about what's working and what's not working, and I can play the go-between in finding answers and finding solutions for our businesses, for community members that have questions. So it really answers a sweet spot in that in-between to really make communication better.
Definitely. Well, I think that's the unique opportunity that our region has, is that collaboration. It's not only the collaboration amongst you two, but a collaboration with our organization and the entities that you represent, and the Moorhead Business Association, all really working together to lift up Moorhead and the greater Clay County community. And so it's just a privilege to be able to work alongside both of you and all the other leaders in Moorhead and Dilworth and all over Clay County. Mayor Carlson, and you alluded to this a little bit, but one of our favorite events, obviously, State of the City, is a couple of years ago you wore the famous the orange suit, and then
Yes.
talked a lot about cones,
Yes.
and then also last year you had a big pair of scissors talking about blue ribbons and a lot of ribbon cuttings and things like that. And so I know you highlighted some of them, but maybe just talk a little bit more about some of those things that have happened over this past summer. I think this summer it's like there's ribbon cuttings all over the place, and a lot of them have been in Moorhead. So just talk a little bit about some of those projects.
Right. Yeah. I think it was 2 years ago that I had the bright orange suit, which, if you're from Moorhead and you're wearing orange, nobody really thinks twice. But it was really to represent that there was going to be a lot of orange cones around the city for the next 2 years. And that has remained true. And in fact, our Moorhead our Greater Moorhead Business Association and a lot of our businesses along Center Avenue are doing a tour de cones while Center Avenue is being redone, which has been fantastic and great. And I just really want to give a shout out to the community for being patient as we do all of this construction and renovation and revitalization, because it's a lot of detours. But detours lead you to other parts of the city that maybe you haven't been to. So yeah, there have been some huge ribbon cuttings already. We had the Moorhead Center Library, the Loop, which I forgot to mention that earlier. That is kind of the creme de la creme of the biggest projects that we have worked on in our downtown thus far, with the city and a public-private partnership, because a lot of businesses have also contributed, and other individual donors have contributed to the community center library, or we call it the Loop.
It's fantastic.
It is absolutely beautiful. If you haven't been there, please go. You will be astounded by just the sheer beauty of it. But also there is something there for everybody, with a walking loop that is free for everyone to use, an indoor playground with different areas for different ages of kiddos, and a children's playground, or a children's library, Center for Entrepreneurship, which has been programmed, which I'm sure Matt will be able to talk about in detail, and just a community living room. So it's really a place to go and gather and find your third place, your community. But we had that. We had Matson Field, which was fantastic, and the only time it rained during that ribbon cutting was when we were speaking. So that was fun. And then Romkey Park, which has just been crazy busy since it opened, and it is yet another beautiful place. So again, we have a lot of pride in the places that we're creating in Moorhead, and just looking forward to this fall when we get 11th Street done, Center Avenue done, and have our first city council meeting in our new renovated city hall.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things going on, and I think it's to the resilience of the people. It's that collaboration amongst the business owners and residents, the elected officials across the community that have really came together during these challenging times when you have a few cones that are in the way, and coming up with some unique opportunities. We just had Stacia come in from the Greater Moorhead Business Association to talk about the Tour de Cones in our public policy committee meeting, and really, seeing the vibrancy downtown through the adversity has been really great. Matt, maybe I'll turn it over to you, just talking, Mayor Carlson just talked about a lot of great things going on, and really that transformation. I think that's what we're seeing, is a transformation of Moorhead. And, from somebody that grew up in the community, I saw Moorhead 20 years ago to Moorhead now. Can you talk a little bit about, from your perspective with economic development being your background, the incredible transformation that we've seen, and what that means for businesses and residents in the community?
I think it provides a lot of excitement and a lot of hope for the future. They see that, as decisions are made for any community in a city. You can look back and say, well, why did they do that? That's really easy to fall back on as an excuse. But this is really the community making a decision, coming up with a long-term plan, and saying this is what we need to do for the future. And like planting a tree, it's not for this generation. It's really for generations forward that we're making some really great strides. And so that is a really great catalyst for everything that we're doing, is really creating some excitement around the things that are starting to happen.
Yeah, it's just fantastic watching this tree grow over the last few years, and again, just kudos to the public and private partners that have came together, because this isn't an easy lift. These things aren't easy lifts, and so kudos to the Moorhead City Council and all those involved in this, because there's a lot of work that goes into this that probably goes unnoticed to the public, but you all do a fantastic job raising up the community. So if you were to have somebody that was to visit Moorhead, they haven't been in Moorhead for a couple of years, what would be the kind of the biggest thing that you think would stand out to them of, oh, wow, this is different. This is a great place to be?
Yeah, so, well, I can answer that because I had a college professor that had moved away from Moorhead, but he grew up in Moorhead, reached out to me because he didn't even know that I had become the mayor, and he was so thrilled. He was like, I remember when you were a student at Moorhead State. And I had him come, and we went into the old Frederick Martin building, the Treetop building, took him up to the top floor, and we looked out over downtown, and he said that was the most transformational piece of Moorhead that he has seen. And then Rumpke Park and Matson Field. I mean, he started naming all these places, but the downtown just looked so different because it had been like that since the 1970s when the mall was there.
Right.
And now the mall is completely gone, and we're putting in streets that weren't there, that didn't exist. And he was just beyond thrilled. And so I hear over and over again people coming back. They're like, the downtown is so different, and it's so cool. They're so excited, and they want to keep coming back to see it as it evolves.
Yeah. Matt, maybe when you brought people to the community, what are they saying?
Yeah, similar story when my college roommates come back that moved away after college and they come to Moorhead. One of the things that it always strikes them is how much the city has grown. They think about when we were in college many, many, many years ago, that it expands, all the way to 34th Street on the east side. I mean, there was no development there when I was in college, and how far south it has grown and north. And they're starting to see that the town has continued to grow and throughout these years, and it just hasn't stayed still. And I think that they get really excited about that when they come back to their old college town and realize that it is still moving forward and still doing a lot of great things for the community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, fun fact, too, Clay County is the fourth fastest growing county in all of Minnesota. And the growth that is happening in Clay County is happening in primarily Moorhead and a little bit of Dilworth as well. And going to the League of Minnesota Cities conferences and the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities conferences, we've learned that we are now classified as an urban county in the state of Minnesota. And so that's very unique and different and puts us in a different kind of category of communities across the state of Minnesota. We are growing. We grew 17% in the last decade, and we have that projected growth rate will continue in the next decade.
Yeah. Well, hey, we are on our first break here, so we will go to a quick break and be back to talk more about all of the great things happening in Moorhead. Stay tuned. Well, welcome back to the Chamber Link. I'm your host, Cale Dunwoody, Vice President of Public Policy at the Fargo Moorhead West Fargo Chamber of Commerce. Joined by two great individuals from Moorhead, Mayor Shelly Carlson and Matt Leiseth from Downtown Moorhead, Inc., to talk a little bit about what's happening in Moorhead and all the great investment that's taking place across the community. We just left off talking really about the infrastructure development, talking about the Loop, Matson Field, the 11th Street underpass, all of these great investments. And Mayor Carlson, I want to start with you on this one. When people think about a thriving community and a thriving downtown, they often think more than just the buildings themselves.
Right.
And they often think about the energy and quality of life. Can you talk a little bit how these infrastructure investments are leading to more than just buildings in Moorhead? Yes.
So part of the planning, and this was very intentional on our part of the planning is we wanted to create a place that people wanted to go. You have your place where you go to bed at night, where you live. You have your place that you go to work. But where's that third place that you go, that you want to hang out, that you find your community. And we were very intentional with the loop, creating a space that has something for everybody. It's very intergenerational. People immediately feel welcome when they walk through those doors. It's a very inclusive space. And just north of that, we are going to be creating a plaza area where we're going to be able to have a lot of community events. And it's also going to be right on the east side of that is going to be our city hall, where people are going to go to pay a bill, and maybe they're going to see what's happening in our plaza, and then they're going to go and check out a book or go take a walk around the loop in the community center library. It's places that are going to work together to create that community. In the downtown, it's going to be a lot of mixed use spaces as well. So people are going to be living there, which is going to help support the businesses that are there. And then we're going to create experiences so people want to be there for that third space.
Yeah, it's incredible when you think about when you're trying to attract people to a region, or you're trying to keep people in a region, how much quality of life really matters, and those types of experiences really matter. And it seems like, when you have places all across the nation doing really cool things, that means that we have to step up and continue to do really cool things for them to want to come here and stay here and all those great things. And when we're having workforce conversations with businesses, it's rising to the top. Obviously wage and all those benefits and things like that are important, but people want to be in a place where they want to live, where their family feels like they have a space that they can recreate, that they can go visit, things like that. And it's really fun to see that, see Moorhead really jumping, I'd say, head first into that, and really trying to revitalize the community and really focusing on attraction and retention of individuals in the community.
Exactly.
Matt, maybe when you're talking, we're talking about the people side of things, but let's talk a little bit more about the attraction and retention of businesses with this development. How is this development maybe spurring some more conversations with current businesses or more conversations with maybe new businesses that want to come into Moorhead?
Yeah, it's really exciting right now, and we think about the foundation that's been built as the mall was removed. City Hall is still there. It'll open up, and they'll be back in place in probably November. But the loop is open 2 blocks to the east, 650 Center with downtown wellness opened up along with apartment buildings. It is starting to create some excitement and foot traffic. We announced that Essentia, which bought the former Wells Fargo building, is going to start their remodeling and reconstruction in September, opening up late spring, early summer next year. And when we think about talking with developers, they want to know that people are living there and people are going by there and moving there. That's what's really going to help us bring new businesses in. And on top of that, once the city offices move out of the Frederick Martin, that is going to get remodeled as well. It's going to go back into the developer, Kevin Bartram, is taking it back to the Frederick Martin. We were in a meeting talking about it just last week, and he referred it to as the Freddy, which we all just loved. So maybe he'll start using that. But that's 78 hotel rooms coming to downtown Moorhead. It's a restaurant on the main floor, and he's bringing back the treetops. So for everybody of my generation that remembers being up there, it's coming back, and it's really some of the best views in all of Fargo Moorhead.
When we're looking, and this is to both of you, when we're looking at this redevelopment, what's kind of the timeline for some of these things? So we've had a lot of ribbon cuttings, but there's still a lot more to come. I think that's the other part of this is we have a lot of great things that have happened and a lot of great things that are on the horizon. Can you talk a little bit about the timeline and what people can expect Moorhead to see for construction to be done?
Yeah, absolutely. As I alluded to a little bit, so really the things that are coming here the soonest is City Hall opening up in November. Essential will be a full-service clinic with urgent care and pharmacy and everything that the people of the downtown area would need. Then we're moving into the Frederick Martin opening up, and we're currently talking to several developers about the different blocks that are there with new concepts and looking into how do we get some more apartments down there? How do we find room for condos? Because people do want to own their place. So we're really talking with a lot of people who are interested in bringing some more vibrancy downtown.
I would say the phasing is really, over the next couple of years. You can't do it all at once,
Right,
and it would be
right.
completely chaotic if you did. So there's a lot of intentionality around, okay, what areas are we focusing on wanting to bring developers in to start construction? Because again, that's just going to be a lot of detours again.
Right.
But City Hall moves out, so then that gets going. Then you have the Frederick Martin building, or the Freddie. That starts getting renovated. That will probably be done by next summer sometime. Essentia will be ready and open by next spring. Urgent Care Clinic is going to be phenomenal and a game changer for the city of Moorhead to have a place to go that's open 24/7. And then different areas around the Loop and City Hall will start opening, and our plaza will probably be opening either late this year or early next year.
Yeah.
So, in 5 years, that whole area is just going to be completely different.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and I think that's the best word for it. But we have to jump to our next break here. Time goes by really fast, so we'll jump to our next break here, and then we'll come back to talk a little bit more about all of the great things that are happening across our community, specifically in Moorhead. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Chamber Link. Cale Dunwoody here with the Fargo Moorhead West Fargo Chamber of Commerce, joined by Moorhead Mayor Shelly Carlson and Matt Leiseth from Downtown Moorhead, Inc., talking a lot about the transformation and the momentum that's happening in Moorhead. And one of the things I want to kick off this segment with is just partnerships. And I think we alluded to that a little bit in the beginning, is just partnerships. This can't be done by one entity alone, whether it be public or private. Can you both just talk a little bit more about the partnerships that needed to take place for these things to happen, and then the partnerships that are happening right now during the construction and the transition and transformation?
Absolutely. I think partnership is a great word, because the city can't do things all by themselves.
Right.
There just aren't the resources. There just isn't enough money to make these things happen. And it's the partnerships that really make it work. A great example, and Mayor Carlson touched on a little bit, is Center Avenue between 8th Street and 10th Street right now is being ripped up. And on the east side of it, it's been closed forever. So we have these core businesses like Swing Barrel and the Starbird Lounge that are sitting there, and now they've lost their main access. So they get to, go through the alleys on the back side.
Right.
But the city provides construction because they need great infrastructure to access their businesses, but this happens.
Right.
But the exciting thing is that the businesses got together to create the Tour de Cones to really talk about themselves. That's not something that the city can come up with and say, here's your new marketing campaign.
Right.
You guys all need to get along. It's worked really well. And then the communication and the partnership is, we've been communicating, myself, along with the city engineering department and the contractor, Dakota Underground. We meet weekly with the business owners to talk about progress. We talk about next steps, and they get to give feedback on, how about this? How about that? I've got the Armory has a great big wedding that happened one week when they were going to be pouring concrete for the road. And they said, ceremony's at 5 o'clock. Can you just not do anything at 5 o'clock? And they said, absolutely. So Dakota Underground started 2 hours early that morning.
Oh, wow.
To make sure that they were done and out of the way for that wedding ceremony. Those are the kind of partnerships and collaboration that happens not because the city has all the answers and all the money, but because we're working together to find the best solution for everyone.
Yeah, that's just fantastic to see public and private partners coming together and really helping address some of these solutions. Mayor, anything from your standpoint on partnerships? I know this was, state, federal, local, all these different things as well.
Well, I think it's what Matt said. The greatest ideas don't necessarily come out of City Hall, and they don't come out of City Hall, and it's businesses working together. We can't insert ourselves into, this is what you need to do as your business. These are private business owners, and whatever we can do to support them and lift them up, that's what we're there to do. And as far as finding different places. We were in Rochester for the League of Minnesota Cities annual conference this year, and they were doing some renovation and different things in their downtown. And they had a really cool sign that said, "Detours lead to discoveries." And I thought that is so cool, because that is exactly what is happening in downtown Moorhead. I was talking to Matt earlier, and I said, this Tour de Cones is great. Even without the construction, I think they should have done something like that, because there are small little boutique stores that maybe they're not open 40 hours a week, but they're open Tuesday through Saturday or whatever,
Right.
that people may not have even known existed. And this is a way to get traffic there. And I love how the businesses are cross-marketing one another, and the city is doing it. And myself as a mayor, we're helping market that place too. Would love to do that for more businesses in our community. But it really takes them kind of showing us how they want to, go forward in doing that.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's being successful because we have a community that's supporting those businesses. That's really the end. I mean, when you have a great marketing campaign and nobody shows up, but that's not what's happening in Center Avenue. People are showing up every day and supporting these businesses, and they're going to get them through the tough times. And when the road's open, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it's again, it's just transformational and monumental, and it takes a few growing pains. I think that's what we all expect, but to see the resilience again of the community really locking arms through this adversity is really encouraging. A couple of the things that we talked about, we see the loop and Matson Field and all these great things that are kind of, I would say that they're kind of shiny stars, but there's some things that maybe people don't necessarily know that are happening or don't see the value, such as the 11th Street underpass.
Right.
Or there's flood mitigation projects that'll start happening after this last legislative session. Mayor, can you just talk a little bit about those projects and what they mean, again, not just to the community vibrancy and vitality, but what they mean to public safety, walkability, all of those things that have to come together to make a project happen?
Yeah, absolutely. The 11th Street underpass has been a challenge for Moorhead for decades. Like I said, our engineering department found plans from 1978.
Wow.
So the community has been talking about it for that long. The last few years, I think it was 2.5 years ago, we were finally able to get the funding needed to really get this project across the finish line. So I was so happy that I was part of that team that really helped to lobby and make sure that we got it across the finish line, because it is first and foremost a public safety project.
Right.
When our ambulance, our firefighters, our police officers are trying to get somewhere in the city, we don't want them to be delayed by a train. And there were 7 hours of delays by these trains. And still, because it's not fully open yet, but at least 2021st Avenue is open, or 2021st Street. Once it's open, it's going to be a game changer for public safety, but side benefit, it's going to be a great component of our economic development for our downtown as well. The walkability is going to be better, and again, it's to safety. People are going to be safer walking under those tracks. Flood mitigation is another one of those public safety issues as well that we've been working on for decades. Started doing lobbying in 2009 to make sure that we could get all the projects across the finish line, and this year we finally were successful. And we are going to have all of the in-town flood mitigation projects done for the city of Moorhead. We're going to have them done by next summer, which is great. That does, and I want to make sure that I put this out publicly, that does not mean that Dr. Bob Zimmerman is allowed to resign from his position. We have other things we need him to stay with the city to work on, but he is the engineer who has really helped to make this project come to fruition. So excited to get I never realized as a mayor that I would be so excited to have lift stations get completed in my city.
Yeah.
I just am beyond thrilled.
Yeah, it's those are important aspects that people normally don't think about, and they pay the bill and they don't really think about what happens if those things aren't there.
Exactly, and it's going to actually save people money, because once these are in place, that means that those people along the river are not going to be mandated to pay flood insurance anymore.
Right.
And some people were paying upwards of $5,000 to $6,000 a year, and that is going to be money in their pockets now. They still can get flood insurance if they want to, but they're not going to be mandated to have flood insurance.
Well, and the businesses in Moorhead should be excited, because that money is going to go right back into the economy and just be regenerated through multiple different ways. With just a last kind of minute we have here with this segment, I want to just turn it over to both of you to touch on anything that maybe you didn't get to talk about in our first three segments, and then just leave us with a few comments about some exciting things that are upcoming in Moorhead.
Well, if you haven't been to the Loop, again, I'm going to just put a shout out there. Go to the Loop. You will it will be your first time because you're going to keep going back because you're going to find other things to do. And once you get there, you're going to start finding all sorts of wonderful places to go and visit in the city of Moorhead. We are an up and coming community. We are a community on the rise, and we are changing the game with how people view Moorhead. And I think it's just really, really exciting, and I couldn't be more proud.
Great.
We're really excited as plans come together. Mayor Carlson talked about the plaza that'll be opening up west of City Hall, but we're really excited about the connection. We're uniquely positioned 2 blocks away from the river. And we all know the great river trails that are on both sides, but this is a unique spot to be able to, and we're being very deliberate about how do we connect the river to the plaza and the plaza to the river, that there is a sight line, there's a place for it. We want to make sure that this is a livable place, meaning I can bike to downtown because you can be on those trails and come up. It's a unique spot where parents can bring their kids. There's no busy streets to cross to get to the downtown area. And so as the library is programming things and the city is programming things, this is going to be a place for all generations to walk and bike to, let alone, hop in your car if you're a really long way away. But it's going to be really exciting to have that connection because I think all of us in this community kind of forget the hidden beauty of that river.
Right. It's a lot of intentionality has gone into these projects and the redevelopment and the continued economic development. So just first, appreciate you both joining us today on the radio, but also just appreciate your leadership on these issues. Thank you, Mayor Carlson and Matt, for joining us. We'll jump to our next break, and we'll be back soon on the Chamber Link. Well, welcome back to our last segment of the Chamber Link on today's episode. Joined by Katherine Grindberg, our Executive Vice President at the Chamber, for this last segment. And really, we wanted to spend a little time intentionally talking about an upcoming election happening over on the Minnesota side. So we just heard about some great things that are happening in Minnesota and the all of the momentum and things that are happening over there, all the investment. But we wanted to spend some designated time to talk a little bit more about the election coming up. And so I asked Katherine to join. I'm kind of more the election person, but I wanted to have a dialogue kind of about the upcoming election on August 11th in Moorhead for their primary election. So welcome, Katherine.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. And now that we're kind of turning the tables here, and I get to ask the moderator questions, host. So I'm excited to have the conversation. And yeah, it sounds like you had a great conversation with both Mayor Carlson and Matt and all the exciting things going on in Moorhead, and kind of carrying that forward, talking about the election that's coming up. So I guess my first question was going to be with the primary election next week. Just give us some details of when the election is, what's all on the ballot for people to know. Like you said, you're the policy guy at the Chamber, so I think you're best positioned to answer that. Yeah,
for sure. Well, we just got through the North Dakota primary election last June, or this just past month in June, and so now we're leading into the Minnesota August primary election. We're really, there's a lot of different political positions that are on the ballot, and I think a lot of folks have seen, the governor's race, U.S. Senate race, all those kind of high-profile races, but there are also a significant amount of lower ballot races. Doesn't mean they're less significant. It just means they're literally lower down on the ballot that maybe don't get as much attention. And that's why we want to be really intentional about spending some designated and intentional time talking about this, talking about our Vote FMWF program. And so next Tuesday, August 11th, Moorhead and Clay County residents will head to the polls. Minnesota residents will head to the polls and be able to vote on, a number of different races. Again, governor's race, a contested governor's race, and then you have the U.S. Senate race to fill Senator Tina Smith's spot. And then you have some local legislative races as well. All 201 legislators are up across the state of Minnesota. And if anybody remembers, when I was on here before, we talked about there was only a 1-seat difference in that 201. There was a 1-seat DFL majority in the Senate, and then they were exactly tied 67-67 in the House. And so all of those folks are up again, and so we're going to see the deck maybe be restacked a little bit. I don't think we're going to probably get to a tie again. It's been challenging, so I hope we don't get to a tie again. It's a little bit unique, but August 11th, Tuesday, August 11th, folks can go on to the Secretary of State website and find their polling location. In Minnesota, they do it a little bit differently than they do in North Dakota. They have precincts, and you have to vote in your specific precinct. So if you go, whether it's the Secretary of State's website, Clay County government website, or the city of Moorhead, you can go on there and find your polling location if you want to vote on Election Day in person. There's also some opportunities to go early as well. Early voting is happening now across the state of Minnesota, so you can go to the county and actually cast your ballot early, and you can do all that fun stuff up until the 10th is the last day to do early voting. Otherwise, you have to do it next Tuesday.
On the 11th, on Election Day. Great. And I'm glad you mentioned, Cale, because I think sometimes we see the ads for the higher, on the ballot offices, right? Governor or Congress. But there's everything down to mayor and city council and other positions like that are critical and sometimes almost more impactful to our daily life right here in our backyard, right?
Right, for sure. There's and that's really why I would say we started, and really I shouldn't say we started. We continued Vote FMWF. So we had a leadership class that put together Vote FMWF, and I know I've talked about it on here before, but really it's an opportunity for us to highlight some of those down ballot races because they have so much significance, and folks often forget about those races. They see the ad campaigns for governor and Congress and all those things, but they forget that there's county commissioners on this election. There's state legislators, things like that. And so really trying to elevate that. So if people go to votefmwf.org, they can find all of the election information that I was just talking about and some more specific details, talking about voter registration, all those things that Minnesota voters have to do. But then they also can go on to a candidate's profile, and each candidate has their own video. They have a questionnaire. You can link out to their social media, things like that. There's contact information. Really trying to provide voters with accurate, reliable, nonpartisan information. So that way, when they walk to that polling booth, they know exactly who's going to be on their ballot, what's going to be on their ballot, and who they want to vote for. Again, as a nonpartisan initiative from the chamber, we're not telling you who to vote for or how to vote. We're just simply saying, one, get out and vote, and then make sure that you're educated when you get out and vote. Because oftentimes, and I've done this, and I'm sure you've done this too, you get to the ballot and you see 5 school board members and there's 15 people running for it. And you're just like, oh, geez, I don't remember who John Smith is, but I don't, I know these 3 people, but I don't know who the other 2 are. And so really wanting to make sure people come educated to these primary elections and these general elections. Oftentimes when we see general elections across the nation, there are lower voter turnouts in the general election because, one, frankly, nobody really knows what they are. Before I started in this role and doing the work that I do, I didn't know what a primary election was. And there's a lot of folks, it's busy, it's during the summer usually, but they have significant consequences for the November ballot and on some of those local races as well. And so really important for folks to get out and raise that voter turnout in both the primary and general elections, so that way our voices are being heard across all elections.
That's great. I think Vote FMWF is one of my personal favorite initiatives under our Center for Civic Engagement at the Chamber. And I know you've mentioned it several times already talking to me right now, but it's nonpartisan. And I love that it's not the chamber answering questions about these candidates. These are questionnaires that you guys have sent out to the candidates, and you're asking for them to self-report on what are their top 3 issues or their background or those sorts of things. So it's really a nice place that you can find all of it in one space rather than going to their individual websites and trying to do research. It's all put together. And then the videos. The videos are one of my favorite parts. So the chamber did a significant amount of work on that too, right?
Yeah, thus far we've had about 43 video shoots for both the North Dakota and Minnesota primary. And that's a significant lift because this is hours and hours of video that we're recording, then putting together for those individual videos and then publishing as well. And so our team has done a fantastic job doing that. And one of the things that really humanizes some of those questions that we're putting out there, a questionnaire is great, but when you can actually hear the organic response to some of these questions, why somebody is passionate, why somebody is motivated to run for office, it's really, really motivating as somebody that's a political nerd like myself to see that there's a lot of people that care about our community and they're wanting to throw their hat in the ring. And so the videos, the questionnaires, all that couldn't happen without the great staff at the chamber helping get those things out, take those things, put them online and publish those. And so appreciate the staff at the chamber, but also appreciate the candidates for using this. They don't have to use this. This is something that we're offering, and we've seen great utilization, and we're seeing great results. In June, we saw 59,000 people visit Vote FMWF.
So great. 59,000 people that visited it.
Right, exactly.
And that's up quite a bit from the last time, right?
Yeah, in 2024 for the entire year, we saw about 11,000 views throughout the entire year. But again, through an intentional strategy with our team, we spent some time and effort really making sure we're pushing this out to our membership, to the general public, because this isn't just for the business community. This is for the entire community, and wanting to make sure people know what this is. They feel that they can trust this information, and so it's been a really a great pleasure to be able to push this information out.
Awesome. Well, that was very helpful. So votefmwf.org is where people can go and find more information about the election, all of what's going to be on their ballot in Minnesota next Tuesday, as well as who's running for what and a little bit more information about the candidates. And it's critical because, as you said, I mean, this is make or break for times of candidates of who's going to be on the final ballot in November and then who's ultimately going to lead communities and vision forward. So these are important roles, and so we need the community to get out and vote and encourage Minnesota voters to do so.
Yes, no, it's critical that we get people to turn out to vote and, again, be educated to vote and utilize this resource. Again, this is a free resource that we're helping provide to the community so that way they feel comfortable entering that ballot box. And when we look at our Center for Civic Engagement, we want people to move one rung up on that civic engagement ladder, and this is a way that we can do it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me on for this last segment. I know we're out of time, but it was great to hear the conversation that you got to have both with the mayor and Matt, and for me jumping on. So appreciate it, Cale.
Yes, thanks, Catherine. Thank you all for listening. This is the Chamberlink.